So as far as that goes, it's simply a translation thing. It really doesn't mean much at all. It shouldn't be taken literally. Actually, in English, we shouldn't have to use the word like. But in Chinese, the word like is more literary, I suppose, than without it. The Chinese language that they choose to translate from Sanskrit into Chinese is very flowery. Most of the translations are really very literary. The beautiful poetry, the wording, the grammar, everything is really wonderful. And therefore, it is a really superior way to learn Chinese, to read Buddhist sutras in Chinese is a very good way to learn the language. Very, very, very literary, very flowery kind of translation. And when you translate that into English, it's not a good practice. It's especially in our day and age when we prefer to be more direct, more succinct. So to translate that with a like is not desirable, in my personal opinion. But anyway, shouldn't be too stuck on that. Okay? Does that settle the question? All right, section 25. The fire of desire burns. The Buddha said, a person with love and desire is like one who carries a torch while walking against the wind. He is certain to burn his hand. And this explains why we want to stay away from love and desire. The Shrangama Sutra, the sutra about meditation, quotes the Buddha's 10 directions, calling the sexual desire as the desire fire. So this is a reference to that as well. A person with love and desire, okay, we keep on talking about this love and desire. Is like one who carries a torch while walking against the wind. One has really, as a cultivator, we have to guard against indulging in love and desire. It seems on the surface appealing and wonderful, but it has very serious drawbacks with it. And the Buddha says, give us an analogy here. To indulge in love and sexual desire is like walking with a torch against the wind. The key word here is one is certain to burn his hand. Certain. We will definitely will harm ourselves if we indulge in love and desire. Okay? Any questions, comments? Yes?
With no love and no desire, wouldn't the human race cease to exist? That's with desire, that's how we create things. With no desire, there's no need to create anything that we need.
Not necessarily. This refers to the people who have enough blessings to consider cultivating. If you talk to a normal person, they'd say, this is nonsense. They just reject it. So therefore, it doesn't apply to them. Look at how many there are of you today. We listen to this kind of sutra, this some kind of information. There aren't that many of you. The majority of living beings indulge in sexual desire and love. That's it. And so regardless of what your preferences are, they're going to do whatever they want. They're going to do whatever they deem important to them, what turns them on. Okay? And when they do that, they really harm themselves. That's what the sutra is saying. Does it answer your question?
So So this is reference to culture.
Yeah, this is really for the people who are really blessed to be able to hear this kind of information. Okay? And not get turned off by it. Because the first time you hear it, I bet you that most of you will get turned off by it. So this is certainly not your first time. That's my point to you. If it were your first time, you walk away from it right away. You say, this is nonsense.
More than love and desire, in other words. There's something...
Very good. Absolutely. Now you're being reminded that love, desire used to be so important in a normal person, but at your level right now, love, desire should be not the most important thing in your life.
Is it more than just attachment?
No, it is a compulsion. Love is a compulsion.
Compulsion.
Yes.
Right.
We are born to love. We're born from love. Therefore, we are made, we are created from the seeds of love. It's inherent in our makeup. Okay, so we have the compulsion to love and to be loved. We have this yearning to be loved. Okay? Never mind about loving. Whatever you do is the yearning to be loved. That is our driving force. Whether it manifests itself in terms of a sexual act or whatever, doesn't matter. Still, the driving force is still this yearning, this thirst to be loved. Okay? The Buddha is not saying that's bad. Is that what the Sutra is saying? It's saying that you should not indulge in it. Recognize that's the nature, that's our makeup. But if you indulge in it, okay, you're indulging in what? In confusion. You're indulging in self-injury. Alright? It's a very powerful message here. It's not easy to accept this. Right? Question?
You use a phrase, the Buddha said that it's not bad, but not to indulge in it.
Is that nonsense? You have a problem with that?
I'm not clear on that.
Okay, that's good. That's a fair question. First of all, there's a fact that the fact is that we are driven by the yearning to be loved. All right? You should recognize that. Whether you like it or not, that's our makeup. That's how you function, that's how I function. All right? There's nothing wrong with that. You call a spade, period. Okay? Now, until you know better, until you heard about the Buddha Dharma, you thought that love and desire is a normal thing to do. It's a desirable thing to do. It's a sensible thing to do. Okay? That's fine. The Buddha Dharma says it's true that you're driven by love and desire, but if you indulge in it, you will certainly harm yourself. Just as sure as you walk against the wind with a torch, you're sure to burn your hands. All right. So far, so good. So it says, the Buddha Dharma says here, even though there's a yearning inside you, says to be loved, but if you yield to it, you indulge in those pursuits, you will end up hurting yourself. For sure.
By recognizing what you just said and what this says, and you have the desire,
Yes.
You then recognize the desire and don't participate in it. That's the indulgence.
Yes. You have a choice. You have a decision node right there. Decision point. Which fork are you? There's a fork. Which branch are you taking? You say, I'm going to continue to indulge in love and desire like I always done before in my entire life. That's the branch you're taking. And the sutra simply says, you certainly will harm yourself, whether you like it or not.
So once you've learned, if you follow the learning, you're following the Dharma and you are cultivating correctly.
Not correctly is a kind of a loaded word.
Well,
Okay.
For us low lifestyle here, that's the way we have to look at things as we learn.
No, you shouldn't take it at the absolute level. The way I take it is that we are being fed with information about our choices that we've been making in our lives.
Yeah.
Okay, for example,
Yeah.
okay, you go to a convention away from home, okay, and you send on business and you stay in a hotel and because you need to do some business out of town, and that night you go down to a bar upon your colleague's request and you run into a lady, okay, and she expressed interest in you. All right, so what do? You say, naturally your mind says, I'm married. I'm not referring to you, okay? Or I have a girlfriend, or I have engaged. I have a significant other. This is a perfect chance for me to indulge, right? And so it happens that you can indulge, okay? Let's say it's mutual consent, upon mutual consent, and you indulge in sexual desire, okay? All the Mahayana is doing says, when that happens to you, beware that you're going to get hurt for sure if you indulge. That's all we get from this teaching. It doesn't say, you do it, you're going to go to hell, okay? It simply says, if you indulge, you will get hurt. Period. And you know what? If you indulge, I think most of you will agree that you broke something in your relationship with the significant other. Wouldn't you? Well, you little boys don't know what I'm talking about. Okay.
They do it. They don't
But
have
if
to about it right now.
when you have another person in your life, an important person in your life, and you indulge in that, okay, you breaking the basis of trust. You're harming the relationship you have with the other person. Whether the other person knows it or not is irrelevant. You yourself know that you are unreliable. You cannot be trusted. And you have a low opinion of yourself already. So you're harming yourself. Right there. Forget about the other person knowing or finding out. And from that, for most people, it gnaws at you. It keeps on gnawing at you until you do something stupid. Either you repeat the same mistake over and over again, or eventually it translates into your action that reveals it to the other person. And that's it. You have to realize that between two people, whether it's the same sex or different sex makes no difference, it's that bond of trust that you build as part of your foundation of your relationship. You damage it, you're hurting yourself. Okay? So Personally, when I read the sutra, I find that the word certain to be true, right there. But then, each one of us will have to face our own demons. When we are faced with temptation, what do? That's what differentiates you from the next person. It's not the fact that you're going to go be damned and go to hell for sure, like some other religions proclaim. Is irrelevant. The point is that you, as a cultivator of Mahayana, okay, you know that you're going to hurt yourself. What are you doing about that information? That's cultivation. Alright, does it clarify it for you? Section 26. Heavenly demons try to tempt the Buddha. The heaven spirit offered beautiful maidens to the Buddha, hoping to destroy his resolve. The Buddha said, "What have you skin bags full of filth come here for? Go away, I've got no use for you." See, even the Buddha, before he became enlightened, he has to undergo the final test of sexual desire, sexual temptation. Okay, it's a very, very final test for him before he can chop it off and become enlightened. And the heaven spirit here refers to the heavenly demon king, King Mara, one of the very powerful heavenly kings up there who lives in the 6th desire heaven, the top heaven. And at that heaven, they really indulge in sexual desire. If you talk about women and men, they have the most handsome men up there as well as the most beautiful women. Incredibly beautiful. If you think the women down here, you've seen those actresses or the sex symbols on pin-up girls, they're nothing. They're like monkeys. Okay? And so when the Buddha was about to become a Buddha, the heavenly King Mara sent his daughters and offered them to the Buddha. His daughters are called jade women. Okay, yu nu, meaning that they are as beautiful as refined as jade. Jade is supposedly a beautiful precious stone in China. And so the Buddha said, "You skin bags full of filth, come here. What are you here for?" Skin bags is a very well-known Mahayana reference. It refers to our body as a skin bag, full of filth. The full of filth is usually skipped, but the skin bag implies it's full of filth. See, our body is really a skin bag that's filled up with a lot of yucky stuff. You ever open your skin up, you see that if you ever slit your hand or anything, you see inside is very ugly. And after that, it leaves a scar. And I don't know why people would go through cosmetic surgery even. So the skin bag is a reminder that our body is really full of yucky stuff. Okay, there's no need to be so attached to it. Whatever we see as beauty is only at the skin level. Underneath is pretty filthy. It's rather offensive of a concept, but that's the plain truth. Go away, I got no use for you. The Buddha, being wise, was able to see through the appearances. He was able to see through. Actually, he used his spiritual powers and sort of sped up the timeline a little bit, and so that those beautiful maidens, those jade women, saw themselves when they become older and ugly and undesirable, and they actually became pretty shameful of their own body, ashamed of their body. Then the heaven spirit became very respectful and asked about the meaning of the way. The Buddha explained it for him, and he immediately attained the fruition of Shrotapana. See, when the Buddha gave them that kind of reaction, that kind of welcome, it made the demon king think. He says, I've been indulging all my life about this kind of thing, and I must admit that my daughters are pretty beautiful. I have a hard time resisting them myself. And what does this guy know that I don't? So he says that's why the heavenly king became respectful, very respectful actually, and requested Dharma from the Buddha. And the Buddha took advantage of it, and he explained the Dharma to him. Explained about desire, explained about probably section 25, the desire burns, you harm yourself. And you have to realize that the demon king has tremendous spiritual powers. Okay? His kung fu is pretty high. So when he can be exposed to the correct knowledge and the proper wisdom, he can awaken to that immediately. That's why he immediately attained the fruition of Shrotapana, simply from listening to the Buddha's sermon. He attained first stage arhatship. Shrotapana is first stage arhat. Pretty impressive, isn't it?
This indicates that this is a very, very important, powerful thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. The Dharma is very powerful. It's whether you can be exposed to it at the right time.
Yes.
Also, this is also a clue for those of you who are interested about becoming a first stage arhatship. Look at the context of how this evil guy here, this evil dude, became first stage arhatship. He came with the intention to harm the Buddha. Okay? What did he harm the Buddha with? Sexual desire.
Temptation.
He himself cannot resist this kind of temptation. This is the best he's got to offer. And if he could look beyond that, he became a Shrotapana. This is how you ought to listen to the Sutra lectures. It's more than simply a simple story here. There's a reason for why it's spoken. Okay? So do not think that the heavenly demon king is totally a bad dude. He's enlightened. Believe it or not.
So the sixth heaven lost their king?
No, he's still the king.
He's still a king?
He's still indulged in sexual desire.
I thought he knew better now.
So you told us on the last one, you know better, but you may not function correctly.
Again, this is an elevator. which floor do you want to get off? You see, I'm so used to staying in the basement and inhaling those fumes and and getting such a kick out of inhaling fumes. That's why I hang out. It's your choice. All right. Anything else? Section 27. One attains the way after letting go of attachments. The Buddha said, "A person who follows the way is like a floating piece of wood that courses along with the current. If it does not touch either shore, if people do not pluck it out, if ghosts and spirits do not intercept it, if it is not trapped in whirlpools, and if it does not rot, I guarantee that the piece of wood will reach the sea." There's lots of ifs here.
And every one of them is us.
Okay. The point here is when we cultivate, we try to avoid getting caught by the two shores, okay, of emotion and desire. What are the two shores? One shore is a shore of views and thoughts. Okay? That's us, ordinary people. Okay? And the other shore is of emotion and desire, arising from ignorance. That is more refined. That represents the state of the two vehicle sages, where they still have emotions and desires, they still have attachments to their nirvana with residues. They still have attachments to their own liberation. So one shore is us mortals, where we are confused like heck. We are caught, we are drowning in the web of views and thought delusions. Okay? If you cut off the view delusions, then you become first stage arhatship. What are some of the view delusions we have? View of this body. We believe we are very attached to our body. Okay? That's one type of very heavy kind of view delusion we have. On the other hand, the two vehicle sages, meaning the arhats, the fourth stage arhats, and the pratyeka Buddhas, they broke through and they empty themselves. The self is emptied out. And they found out it is so incredibly blissful, incredibly wonderful, much more than where we are today, that they said, this is tops. And they become attached to it. They finally attained their own liberation. All the hard work has finally paid off. They reached the nirvana with residues, meaning they ended their own birth and death already. They have control over their own birth and death. And they're still attached to that very fact. That's what in general we call it attachment to Dharma. Okay? Attachment to that nirvana with residues. That's the other shore. And cultivating is a person who follows the way. Look at that. We're following simply, there's a path already. There's a pathway already. We simply follow it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, folks. Leave it for scientists to invent things. We don't need to do that. Okay? We simply follow. The path has been made for us. It's being shown for us. And we are a floating piece of wood. See how fragile we are. The course is along a current. There's a current that pushes us towards our destination naturally. What current is that? Time. What else? It's a natural force of nature. What is that?
Birth and death.
Huh?
Birth and death.
Sexual desire,
Okay.
if you ask me. Okay? That is the force that the Star Wars people refer to. Okay? Or there is a natural flow of forces, okay, along that river of cultivation. Okay? There is a system of forces you can draw upon in your course of cultivation that will allow you to get to your destination, meaning the sea. Okay? The sea symbolizes Buddhahood, your final destination. Okay? And we are simply a small piece of wood that floats the courses along the current. Okay? And what we need to do when we cultivate is to ensure that we don't touch either shore. Do not grab onto the shores. Do not be caught in any of those two shores as we course along the current. Okay? That's a very important thing. That's us. Okay? Do not be attached to views, to our own delusions, nor to the delusions of the nirvana residues. Okay? That's not ultimate. There's still much more wonderful things ahead of us. Okay? Either shores are very, very, very attractive, very alluring. Think about it. We are a small piece of wood, so uncertain, floating up and down. Okay? So the temptation is to go to grab onto a shore for certainty, for security, for the known. Okay? So it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of faith and belief. It says, I'm going to keep on coursing along. I'm going to avoid getting caught in the appearance of security, appearance of the known, the safety of the known, the safety of the familiar, the safety of the comfortable. Okay? That's what we ought to do first. What's the second if? If people do not pluck it out, what does this refer to? This represents not getting caught in the nets of deviant views. What's deviant views?
Any other thing? Any externalist activity?
No.
That would distract you?
No, not necessarily. It's very simple. You talk like that, you never finish. Bottom line, what's a deviant views? See, Mahayana, once you understand, is very simple. Okay? Deviance is not believing the law of cause and effect. Doesn't it cover everything you can take on? That's deviancy. Deviancy in Mahayana is that you do not believe in, subscribe to the law of cause and effect.
Where are the people?
You don't believe in karma.
Where are the people in that?
I'm sorry?
Well, this says that the people do not pluck it out. I don't understand it. How do people pluck out your cause and effect karma?
It's coursing along the current. You pluck it out. The current is driven also by cause and effect.
Is that the people?
Well, the people here is an external force because the piece of wood is this particular person. We're talking about going along with the current.
Why doesn't it say if a force does not pluck it out?
Don't be too
Another Chinese word?
no. It actually this is why you need to have a person explain it to you, because when you read this in English and in Chinese, there's no way for you to understand it. When we explain it to you, then we explain to you what is another thing that could harm your progress.
Yes, okay.
Okay? For example, if you practices the externalist path, and you do those things and you make progress, you progress up to 8th level samadhi, right? They don't have to believe in cause and effect. Right? And eventually, they take themselves out of the current. They remove themselves. Or their colleagues or their co-cultivators, they all take themselves out of the current. Okay?
Pluck out of the current, that means you don't reach this Buddhahood, enlightenment.
Right, that's right. You won't even, never mind about enlightenment. Just talk about hardship. You won't make it a hardship. You don't believe in cause and effect, you won't make it. There's a flaw in your understanding. There's a flaw in your wisdom. You don't believe in cause and effect. And because of that flaw, you cannot continue to cultivate. Pluck yourself out. Again, this is one of those things we need to have someone explain to you why plucking it out means really holding deviant views. That's the holding deviant views have the consequences of you eventually are being prevented from continuing to cultivate.
But you let yourself out.
Yeah.
You
People in general. Yeah.
You withdraw yourself from the current.
Sounds familiar? Doesn't it sound familiar?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Of course.
See what happened? If you from day one you plant the wrong seeds, and you keep on say, okay,
Keep on and
keep on adding those bad seeds. Whereas at the same time you hear, that, hey, you do something, you plant the wrong seeds, okay, you should also expect to pay for the consequences. And you say, I don't know, so far so good, right? So far so good. I made it to, I'm a god, I'm a goddess now, who cares? And eventually, you pluck yourself out. Or others, the people around you will pluck you out as well. Okay? And we talk about the recent example. You've seen yourself. Okay? I've been watching it for all this time. Okay? And it's not simply yourself, it's a group effort. That's why the word people here. You are not as much as in control you think you are. It's the people around you who are also affecting you tremendous, who also have a tremendous effect on you as well. So the wording here is very, very, very interesting. People pluck you out. People, that includes you as well. So be careful. Okay? Be careful. Whatever seeds, if now you know, you're aware of all these things, now you know there's something good or there's something called good and something called bad. You choose to indulge in doing bad karmas. Eventually you have to pay for it. And in particular, if you continue to hold deviant views that pertain to the fact that you don't believe in cause and effects, you will pluck yourself out of cultivation. If ghosts and spirits do not intercept it, this represents view and thought illusions. Okay? Kind of interesting, isn't it? That ghosts and spirits can intercept us in our path. Those be aware, be careful about those view and thought illusions. if it is not trapped in whirlpools. Whirlpools, the nature of whirlpool is that it spins things around. And this represents laziness. Okay? Cultivation, you have to be vigorous. You can't be lazy. Expect to keep on making progress. Whirlpool is that you spin around, it seems like you are moving forward. You're moving, but you're not moving forward, you're not progressing at all. Okay? And so the one of the key elements, requirements of success is that you have to have the proper kind of vigor. Okay? And if it does not rot, rotting here symbolizes the fact that if it does not rot, means that you can break through your own confusions and penetrate the unconditioned Dharma. Okay? With that, the Buddha emphatically says, I guarantee that you will reach the sea. Okay?
It doesn't say when.
Yeah, that's a typical reaction. I want it now.
Yesterday was too late.
Some of us don't have as much time as the rest of us.
Any questions here? Any other questions or comments? If students of the way are not deluded by emotion and desire, and if they are not caught up in the many crooked views, but are vigorous in the cultivation of the unconditioned, I guarantee that they will certainly attain the way. Prior slide is the analogy. This is the actual description of that. You see? So that's why, when, for example, we refer to vigorous in cultivation, was that it was represented earlier by the whirlpools. And the cultivation, the unconditioned, is represented by not rotting.
Quite understand what unconditioned here means.
The unconditioned is...
What is...
Conditions is something that depends on another thing for its existence. That's what condition is.
Cause and condition always goes together.
What?
Cause and condition go together.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Okay, and so if cause
Condition is a more general word for cause. Cause is more direct causal relationship. Condition is the aiding causes.
of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And
The condition in this sense here is that you are depending on something else for your existence. Very simple. So what is unconditioned? Something that is not dependent on anything else for its existence. What is that?
Buddha nature.
Your Buddha nature. That's the only thing that's fixed. For example, you are dependent, your body is dependent on time for its existence, or its death for that matter. Right? When you reach Buddhahood, you no longer depend on that thing called time or space or thinking or desire. You see? Your body is depending on sexual desire for its existence. Alright, anything else? Section 28. Don't indulge a wild mind. Again, this is a very, very famous section that's very frequently referred to. The Buddha said, be careful not to believe your own mind. Your mind is not to be believed. Be careful not to get involved with sex. Involvement with sex leads to disaster. After you have attained arhatship, you can believe your own mind. This is the sutra, the section of the sutra that is very, very often quoted in Mahayana. Anything at all, this section alone makes the sutra worth reading, worth studying. Right here.
Your own mind, you don't exist.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, you have a problem with that. You don't exist. Your mind. If you don't believe your own mind, who are you? What do you believe in? What do you have to say about that? Some of you pundits of Mahayana, please help me out. That's a tough one to resolve.
That's exactly where you're going. That's the cessation of self.
It's kind of funny that the wording is so kind and so compassionate. Be careful not to believe in your own mind. Okay? And the first reaction, huh? So he reiterated, he says, your mind is not to be believed. Huh? Come again? How is that? So you don't believe in your own mind, then you don't believe in yourself. Who are you? So in other words, what you're saying is that your mind is you, aren't you? Your thinking is you. You are your thinking.
You are what you think.
You are what you think. Okay? To think is to be.
I think, therefore I am.
Okay? Is that Shakespeare? Descartes.
That's
Descartes.
So if you stop thinking, therefore you're not.
Descartes. See? That's the Western philosopher. So to think is to be. I think, therefore I am. What's wrong with that?
In time we learn not to think.
Unfortunately,
Why not?
It's the other truth.
Why not?
Because your thinking blocks you from realizing the reality of incarnation.
Because your thinking is confused. Bottom line is that your thinking leads to confusion. Very unflattering. Your thinking is simply confusion. Your thinking leads to confusion. In practice, John will recite the Buddha's name so that we stop thinking.
Yes, think about that.
Think about that.
You cannot, for example, when you reach 7th dhyana, 7th samadhi, you stop thinking. That's why this woman asks. She's not there yet. Until you reach 7th samadhi, even though you're in samadhi, you're still thinking. Because that mind of yours is so refined. Okay? So, it's the misconception that your mind is you. That's wrong. You are not your mind. Your mind, your thinking mind, is a product of confusion. Confusion created your thinking mind. So cultivation is to involve in the process of backtracking to the point where you can stop your thinking mind from functioning. That's when you have true clarity. That's when you have true intelligence. Okay? What do you mean?
The samadhi times.
You stop thinking. Your thinking mind stops functioning.
I know, but I'm asking you.
But when you're not, it is in control. That's why Buddha says your mind is not to be believed. As long as you're thinking, as long as you know your conscious mind is still operating, okay? Don't believe. That's what the Buddha says. Yeah, it's confusing you. It's
Trying to interfere.
Throwing obstructions at you.
Curves.
It's meddling. It's throwing a stick in the wheel. That's what it's doing. And you trust it. I gotta go cook for my daughter. It keeps on fooling you. And you believe it. You say, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm the mother. I'm the wife. I'm the husband. That's my duty. It's my responsibility. It fools you. It makes you believe that's the right thing to do. Objections. It happens constantly when you cross your legs. Constantly trying to derail you. That's why it says, don't believe it. It's not to be believed. Wisdom, transcendental wisdom, is you reach a level where you can function without going through your conscious mind. Then you can really function with clarity. Hard to believe, eh? Of course. And then he takes this a step further. He says, okay, now as long as we're here, by the way, be careful not to get involved with sex. Involvement with sex leads to disaster. He's not mincing words, is he? He said now, before it's love and desire. Now it says section 20, it says it's about sex, boys and girls. Okay? Before we are in polite company, so we talk about things, we beat around the bush a little bit, we being a little bit flowery and literary. But now, since since we added, it's about sex. You indulge in sex. Okay, sex leads to disaster. I have such a kick when I read this, because you guys should be up in arms and say, I protest. Enough is enough. True? No? Come on, be honest. How can you exist without sex?
Until you feel it, you can't talk about it.
Let's be honest about it, okay? I remember when I started to meditate, I went to this herbal medicine doctor, okay, not a bad one. And he says, these monks, I was a monk then. I took my father, who was not feeling well, to see this guy. He had some skin disease. And so he was teaching his student. He said, look, see, this monk is pretty healthy. He doesn't need to sleep much. He doesn't need to eat much. He eats, and so on. Extremely healthy. My father is always, his face is always pink, which is a very bad thing when you meditate. But anyway, besides that, worldly people look at that as a sign of health. Okay. And he says, and he's been a monk, you know what, guys? He's been a monk for 10 years already. Okay, well, not 10 years, for 5-6 years. So, well, he's been a monk, okay, for some time now. So we have a problem here, guys, because his manufacture plants keeps on producing it. You know what I mean? It doesn't stop. Just because you become a monk doesn't mean you stop producing it. What do you do with the excess? This is a fact of life. You have a body, I have a body. Okay? What's this nonsense about not getting involved in sex? And at the same time, your factory is still at work.
Your hormones keep flowing.
Huh? What kind of nonsense is this? Could you tell me? Would someone explain to me? How is it possible? Can you buy this kind of dharma here? This kind of nonsense? First says we have a body, okay? We're born from sexual desire. We're driven by sexual desire, okay? And naturally, physiologically, that's how we function. That's how what we are supposed to do. How is it possible?
Just the people who become monks don't have as much of the hormone.
But they're still producing it?
No.
Come on!
No, it's not true.
Come on!
They have to contain it.
How?
Cross your legs.
Come on! Listen, you work in the office. If you use your brains too much, what happens to you? I'm being very blunt here today. What happens?
You get a headache.
No. Sexual desire increases. Oh yeah. Next time that happens to you, you pay attention and see what I mean. You have an imbalance in your system. Just the same thing when you're producing the yin elements in your system, you're creating imbalance in your system. Okay? So how can you cultivate? How? I taught you already.
They rebalance. You have to cross your legs and go back.
You rebalance yourself. When you're out of balance, what do?
You
You
go back the other way.
cross your legs and regain your balance. So the mere fact of you crossing your legs, the mere fact of your reciting the Buddha's name rebalances you. That's what people don't know. That's worldly people don't know. Do that. Cross your legs. You cultivate. You rebalance yourself. You regain balance. Otherwise, you cannot function. Actually, you take it a step further. Actually, there's something more physiological that happens that actually takes care of the excess. It transforms the excess into energy. That's the Taoist secret, by the way.
Like physical energy? Or
Life energy.
okay. But not like...
The force. Look. Essence. But that's before it transformed into energy.
And that's how the Taoists live so long.
Yeah.
It's
one of the reasons.
The life
Yes.
force.
They don't lose it.
Yeah, they don't lose it.
They don't lose it. They keep on harnessing it, transforming it, and storing it. And one more thing that happens in their Dharma.
Their goal is not to become enlightened. Their goal is to become
Long life.
immortals, to live forever.
Yeah, they call it enlightenment. That's their level of enlightenment. They all call it enlightenment, but typically it's really immortality.
Yeah.
Okay. They call immortality simply it's a long life. It's much shorter than, let's say, you reborn in the heavens of the Christian heaven. You live a lot longer. It's much more fun. Trust me. Instead of doing the Taoist way, go up there. Go be reborn in heaven. It's much better, in my mind. Come on, that's a God's realm. This is a human realm. What's the point in living here for 10,000 years, 20,000 years? Who cares? You're still a human. You're still bound by your body. As a God, your body is much better. Your pleasure are much, much more magnified if you're into that. Okay? So, anyway, the fact of the matter is that to say involve not get involved in sex is unreasonable because of the imbalances that are created, unless you know how to deal with it. Okay? I figure you guys wouldn't know how to raise the right kind of objection about sex, and therefore, as a monk, I decided to explain to you a little bit more about sex. Okay. Now, about involvement with sex leading to disaster. We're getting pretty detailed here. Why does it say disaster? No win situation for us. Like it or not.
Drags you away from cultivation.
Is it disaster?
If where you're trying to go is with cultivation, that's a disaster.
Well, just as a common human, that's gives you all kinds of trouble too.
Now, the way
Disaster is totally undesirable. There's such a huge conflict in terms here. Sex is something very pleasurable, enjoyable, and yet it leads to disaster. Objections?
Every action has a price.
The interesting thing here, folks, is disaster. The word here, disaster, applies to all living beings. This section is so powerful, so blunt. Whether you're a god or a goddess, you're involved in sex, it leads to disaster. Okay? There's a story of an immortal who's been practicing in the mountains for a long, long time. And he developed tremendous spiritual powers. Okay? And those guys, they are dead set against indulging in sexual desires. Okay? And so he has tremendous spiritual powers. And as such, he made quite a big name for himself. That even the king knew about him. Okay? And the king of the country decided to draw near him and bow to him as his master, his teacher. And he agreed and he taught the king. Okay? So he would, every now and then, he would go to the king's palace to receive offerings. Okay? And teach the king. And the way he does is that he would fly from his mountain to the king's palace. Hey, and he has spiritual powers, why not? He would fly. He would ride on the clouds and ride the clouds over the king's palace, get down and talk to the king and receive offerings. One day he did that, and he went to the palace and his king student wasn't there. And who was there to greet him? The king's daughter. A young and beautiful thing. His skin is so white, so smooth, and she's so well taught. She saw the immortal coming, landing on the terrace. So she was there waiting for him. And so she bowed to him. And the way you bow, you learn to bow properly, you open your hands, right? The palm of your hands. You know what it means? You receive the feet of the person you bow to. That's what it means. In fact, when you have some real kung fu, when you do that, you bow, let's say you bow to the Buddha or the Bodhisattva, and you're sincere about it, you can probably feel that somebody's feet is being put in the palm of your hands. Okay. Hard to believe. Okay? Why hasn't happened to you yet?
Not enough功夫.
Not sincere.
Not sincere enough. Not sincere enough. You see, everything we do has a meaning behind it. If you don't believe in that, you know, okay, I do it because it looks good, or because he does it. See, it's funny how the phone now rings today. We've been doing this for a while, right? And no one ever called, right, until today.
No,
It's happened before.
Happened before? Okay, never mind. Never mind.
A couple of others.
Okay. Anyway, so she opened her hands, okay, and to receive the feet. So what the immortal does is that he then put his feet into the palm of her hands, right? To show that he accepts her offering. This is an offering to you, okay? You accept it. They step the feet. They step into the hands.
What are you offering then?
You're offering your respects.
Okay.
Your difference.
So by stepping into
You say
palms.
you accept it. Think about it. Back then, the Buddha was walking barefooted. People bow to him. A king bows to him. He would bow barefooted into the palm of their hands. Think about it. That's how.
In Survivor China, they didn't. The 16.
Okay.
The program Survivor China, the new Survivor program, opens at a Buddhist temple, and they all walk in. And they bring the 16 into the Buddhist temple, which was absolutely beautiful. I can now turn it on to see the beautiful
statues.
Yes. And they are going through a welcome ceremony to welcome them.
Mm-hmm.
And they do the praying, and all the monks are standing up.
Yeah.
And there's one that's a Christian missionary radio host, and she just left the ceremony. She said, I was taught not to
Practice.
idols, yes. And the whole twist of having it in China is that the Buddhists, they said, believe in leaving all your things behind. So they had to leave their suitcase and set off on 39 days with just the clothes on their back.
Watch
But
that
scenery-wise, it's beautiful.
When did that start?
Thursday night. Excuse me for interrupting.
That's all right, yeah.
But I thought the ceremony was so interesting.
Yeah.
How they were welcoming them.
So they bow, they open their hands or not?
The monks did, but the other people
Never did.
some went down, but they would not put their hands up.
Yeah.
What did they know it's supposed to do that?
They may not
They may not know.
Doesn't happen. It's not
I
necessary.
thought they were supposed to leave everything behind.
Well, that's when they came back out to get their suitcases. They were told by Jeff Probst that Buddhist tradition, you leave everything behind, so this survivor...
They only left their physical things behind.
Yes.
They brought all their mental baggage with them.
Yes.
They should have reversed it.
So this immortal then stepped into the princess's palm of her hands, and then he discovered that her skin is so smooth, her hand is so soft. That's a physical contact, mind you, and that
More false thinking.
no. Very precise. He was sexually aroused.
That's it. Spiral
He
down.
lost it.
Falling down the spiral stairs.
Whirlpool guy.
And you know what happened?
He lost his spiritual power.
He lost all his spiritual powers.
Had to walk home.
All of them.
Is this from a touch?
Huh? Talking about disasters.
Big price to pay.
This guy, his purpose in life is to develop spiritual powers, right? Live in the mountain and give up everything, especially, listening to woman's voice and thinking about all those things you can't do. Okay, it's nothing. Up in the mountains, right? That's a quick way to develop spiritual powers. Okay, that's total dedication, mind you. There's no running water, no toilet, no nothing. Okay, and for him to lose all his spiritual powers, just like that. For some of you, disasters means probably losing some money, losing, something you like. For him, it's spiritual powers, and he lost them all. So after he received the offering and it's time for him to leave, he said, "Okay, I'm leaving now." And he walked back the mountains.
Long walk.
One
He
long
lost
walk.
everything in 10,000 years of cultivation, single thought disappeared.
In one instant, you lose it all.
Master, I'm just going to let the dogs out of our house.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Yeah. It's an open door, don't worry. Okay, anyone else can relate about sexual disaster? Okay, after you have attained arhatship, you can believe your own mind.
Do we get to decide that?
What do you think?
I think not.
Wrong.
Is the mind, the state of mind for an arhat, constantly in that state of mind, or just drifting in and out? I mean, thinking mind and then non-thinking mind, or
Yeah. Good question. When you read Venerable YongHua's comment of this section here, I think either him or someone else there in this section, or maybe another sutra. He says, arhats, after you attain arhatship, it says here, you can believe your own mind. Venerable YongHua says, you can believe it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
That's the answer to your question. There are times when you can believe it. There are times you can't. Why?
Well, the Buddha comes.
Yeah, because there are times when he's confused as well. It's not until you become a Buddha that's when you have no confusion whatsoever. Okay? But Venerable YongHua is very, very kind. He says you can trust it a little bit. There's a little bit of clarity in Arhat's mind only. Just a little, and that is incredible wisdom. What does it say about our state of mind?
totally.
Total darkness. Fascinating. We live in darkness. The thing that we train and try to perfect our mind, right, is totally unreliable. As though our lifetime in trying to be in control of our mind, right? It's a futile undertaking. That's what the sutras are saying. You may not believe that we are living in darkness, in total confusion, but look about what we do. Look about your priorities. Think about it. Especially you guys who are younger, look at those people ahead of you. You have, basically in this assembly, you have 3 generations. You, younger, the future, the present situation, and the older generation. You have 3 generations here. Look at all of them. You can get a glimpse what you're going to be in when you reach their age. Because that's what their wisdom tells you. That's what they've been teaching you. That's what you've been teaching your children. This is the priorities that are okay to pursue. You've been teaching. I can't be more blunt than that. We are spreading confusion. And by the time you get older, your body breaks down. It's too late to do anything about it. Okay? This is a very important section. I apologize if I'm too blunt in explaining it, but that's the way it is. Alright? Any objections or comments or anything?
So your good knowing advisor has to advise you when you would have arhatship, and then you could believe a little bit about what you were thinking.
Yeah, then you have a chance.
Bang,
then
bang,
you
bang.
have a chance.
Bing, bang, bang. Like that.
Doesn't end. Remember the question earlier about when can I believe in my mind? When you become an arhat, the fourth stage arhat, that's when you can begin to believe your mind. Until then, you believe your mind, you believe in confusion. Any problems with that? So our world is really a house of cards. It's built upon confusion. And we invest our lifetime pursuing confusion, pursuing delusions.
That and live in
Cultivating. Learning more and more about the right things to do. And doing them.
not trust your mind at work.
How do you not trust your mind at work? It takes a false mind to create false things. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's what you're indulging in. You're indulging in falsehood. You're indulging in falsehood so that you can sustain your falsehood. That's what you commit your energy to do. Does it make sense? What do you want? You decided, I'm going to want to earn money, I want to pursue this, pursue that, okay? You are pursuing after false things. Therefore you commit your energy to creating false things on top of false things. Any other comments? In other words, you're committing your energy to creating falsehood. Eventually, it catches up with you. Eventually, your energy runs out, time runs out, your body wears out. That's what you do. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Let's say you bring children into this world. You have to take care of them. Okay? That's the way it is. But if you have a choice, what do? You have to answer that yourself.
Everything we do in the mortal world false?
Yeah.
Because we would be...
There's a Chinese saying, everything is false.
Because everything is an illusion.
Everything is an illusion.
And we are perpetuating the illusion by
everything is conditioned. Therefore, we are perpetuating the falseness, the falsehood.
That seems to make sense.
Even procreation is falseness. We are prolonging it. We are feeding into the falseness.
Better if we all died?
No.
And didn't procreate?
No.
We have to live two lives, really.
No.
Unless
Two
when
lives. You do
unless
one
when you
spiritual
fall.
and one non-spiritual.
Unless you leave home.
Well, but you carry the spiritual with you, but. Right.
It's,
I know.
it's who's talking about leaving home here? We're talking about cultivation. Okay? Leaving home is one form of cultivation. The bodhisattvas are not left home people. Most of them are not.
Well, I thought they were.
No. Bodhisattvas are not necessarily left home people. It's just like people like you.
Hmm.
But their path is different. But their dharma is different than yours, definitely. Because when you're talking about bodhisattvas, we're talking about a level of wisdom is even higher than our hardship. Very difficult to get there.
But how are the dharmas different?
Because the dharma is based on wisdom, ours is based on confusion.
Dharma is based off of confusion.
No. The way we function. Okay? Dharma here refers to a lot of things. Okay? So, to be more precise, the way we function is based on confusion. Our platform is confusion. This our platform is Windows or Mac. Okay? It's not transcendental wisdom.
And I was with Mel when you say, how do you cultivate and not leave home? I mean, when I hear this, it seems the only way you can go about doing this is to leave home.
No, not at all. Not at all. Leaving the home life is a very, very difficult thing to do. Because look at the attachment you have. Never mind about leaving the home life. Look at that. How much time you can cross your legs a day? How many hours? How many minutes? 5, 10 minutes? Can you go 4 hours? Why not? You know the answer to those questions. Every day they change. So, at the level of cultivation for you to even be able to commit yourself to 4 hours every day of practice, you can't. Can you? How about 6? Can't. So leading home life is doing it full time. Simply put. Okay? So at your level right now, you can't even commit X number of hours of cultivation a day. Then never mind talking about leading a home life. It's not reasonable. You have obligations. How can you cultivate? So the cultivation is about a commitment and about going in the right direction. Okay? Even when you look at me like a monk, maybe in a couple of years I return to lay life. Who knows? You never know. Okay? But you try your best and you commit, you put the time and commit into cultivation. That's the nature of cultivation. Don't be stuck on one form or the other. Mine happens to be more drastic. Okay? Because I could afford to do that. I have the conditions to do that. You don't. You all have families. You all have obligations. I chose to sever my obligations, sever my ties. It's not your dharma. Mine is different. Okay? Now the bodhisattvas, some of them are bodhisattvas and yet they have a family. Because they're there to practice a different dharma than yours. You may, on the surface, they may have a family, but they're not as attached as you are about your family, about your love and your desires. They're not as attached as you are. So their dharma is different than yours. Even though they manifest the appearance of having a family. Okay? Same thing in my kind. You know, in my kind, maybe you have monks, nuns who are enlightened. Okay? And their Dharma is different than mine because they don't practice the same, they don't have the same kind of attachments to my kind of attachments as they have. Okay? For example, I might be attached to, I don't know, food or a temple or money, whatever, fame, adoration, who knows? They're not attached to those things. Even though they manifest, even though they swear the same things I do. Okay? So each of us is different. The point is that what is your level of cultivation? Where are you? Where do you want to go? That's the main thing. What can you afford? What is reasonable for you? What works for you? Okay? That's the bottom line.
There's bodhisattvas that have families. They're not confused.
They're not confused.
Well, how do we get out of confusion? That's what I want.
You become enlightened. You practice. You end your confusion. You have choices. That's where you have to decide for yourself. Okay? So what I've been hearing so far is that the wild mind, the monkey mind, it cannot be trusted. I want to put an end to it, right? I want to end it. Then what is your level of commitment? When do you want to end it? How much can you afford to invest? How much can you afford to commit? Okay? You have to be realistic. You have a lot of obligations in the forms of family ties and family responsibilities, which I don't have. Okay? Because I'm different from you because I chose to do away with those ties and those responsibilities. You're not the same situation. You have to look at yourself in a realistic fashion and say, okay, if this is the direction I want to go towards the direction of enlightenment. What are my choices? I'll tell you two choices. Number one, you become a first stage arhat as soon as possible. Okay? I would commit, if I were you, I would commit a lot of energy and resources to become an arhat, first stage arhat, as soon as possible. First stage arhat have not ended sexual desires. Okay? They still love like crazy. Look at the heavenly the heavenly demon king. That's today's lesson. Get the first stage arhatship because that's when you have the first sense of control over your life. And the second thing is that go for rebirth. Because that's the ultimate insurance policy you can write for yourself. Because you always have to have that if, like in the cultivation prior section, there are lots of like 4 or 5 ifs. You have no control of those ifs. So you better buy insurance. Okay? Get insurance policy. Go for rebirth. You all have insurance, don't you? You spend money every month. You know, you spend part of your asset base. You buy insurance. What I'm telling you is that the best investment of your material possessions is the rebirth. Invest into your rebirth prospects. Just in case you fail this lifetime to become a first stage arhat. Okay? And the two paths are basically going towards enlightenment. Now, if that's the direction you want to do, then you have to ask yourself, what is my commitment? What can I afford? We've been talking all along about your making decisions, your decision making here, not mine. Okay? I give you the information. You have to decide for yourself what you want to do with it. Come on, you all have, for example, you youngsters, you all have families, you have obligations, you have to fulfill those obligations first. That's what you committed to do earlier, before you ran into this thing called Mahayana. Isn't that right? That's what you committed yourself to do. Fulfill your obligations. Okay? So you sever, you reduce your attachments. So all those are obligations, no problem. But differentiate between obligation versus attachments. That's what you can do right now. I tell you, I'm willing to bet that if you reduce your attachments, you can then commit more of your time, your efforts into cultivation. My claim to you. It's because you are refusing to let go of your attachments. That's why you cannot commit more time, more energy to your cultivation. More rewarding it is, the more meaningful your life becomes. Fun it is for you to live. Let me tell you, the higher level of Kung Fu, the higher level of your wisdom, the happier you are. But we don't put it that way. I put it in plain terms for you. Because you guys are engaged in the pursuit of happiness, right? Personal happiness. That's the bottom line. I tell you, the more you cultivate, the more progress you make, the happier you are. Period. Bar none. Nothing compares to that. It's you who cannot let go of your attachments. That's why you efforts. It takes a stupid guy like me, who used to be like you, okay, who somehow stumbled into this Dharma called Chan, and then the more I learn about it, the more I discover, wow, this is a lot more than I bargained for. So it takes a guy with both legs and two boats to tell you from my personal experience. It's you, it's me, who are afraid to let go of our attachments. To us, it's a loss. Little do we know. It's liberation, it's happiness, it's bliss, it's wisdom. True giving. It's true love. That's the direction you're going for. Because let's face it, even though when you think you're helping, you know, let's say, son, I ran to some good money this month, business is doing good. Here, a couple grand, go buy yourself something nice. You think it's love, you think it's being kind. You're creating confusion. You're helping that person, your son, dig a deeper hole for himself. Become more attached. They get the money and they go out and buy something nice and become more attachment. Suddenly they find more attachments. Before they find, now you're giving some more things to be attached to. And you call it love. Think about it. Things you give your family, are you giving attachments? Isn't that shocking? You're creating confusion. So what do? You give and then you speak Dharma. That's why you have to learn more Dharma. You have to open your wisdom so that you give and help them liberate from their attachments. That's true giving. Otherwise, that kind of giving you're doing is giving confusion. Alright?
Yes.
Terrible thing. Money is the worst thing you can give. Worst thing you can give to anyone. Dirty, and creates a tremendous level of attachments they can't let go of. Especially you older people, you think leaving inheritance is to your leaving things for your offsprings. You're doing a terrible disservice to them. That's my claim. Perpetuating confusion on top of confusion. So what are you doing? Go out and make more money, so that you're creating a bigger problem for yourself. Look at a guy like Bill Gates or what's Berkshire Hathaway's
Warren Buffett.
What on earth is going to do with all the money he has? He has to give it away. So you spend your lifetime making money to give it away.
But you have to give it away to take care of the IRS.
Think about the futility of your life efforts.
But actually,
Yeah.
that's actually the cause and effect I see in both. That's a cultivation, but that's an external cultivation. Back, they're going to have money again, but they might have illness.
Yeah, what they do is they give me some excuse, lousy excuses to talk about them, and to you. But it's more than that. You go to a deeper level, and you go in that direction. It's more to it than that. You can't say Warren Buffett is stupid. I can tell you that. You can't say that Bill Gates is stupid. Can't. The guy is superior. He's a superior man. For him to be rich, the richest man on earth, to go and seek after a teacher in Warren Buffett, to me, I tip my hat to Mr. Gates. So much wisdom right there. So much wisdom. The guy invested time, money. His time is so valuable to him. Okay? He would hang around Warren Buffett, playing bridge, going fishing, drawing near Warren Buffett. To do what? To pick Warren Buffett's mind. The Gates is the guy. That's why that guy is so smart, so rich. He's so smart. His approach is to problem is so superior. There's a man who can have anything he wants, and yet he keeps on seeking for wisdom. It's an incredible mind. Incredible, superior. And he's superior even to the point where his teacher now is still stuck with a bag of money. And Gates is willing to let go of that, go beyond that. Isn't that superior to you? To me, the guy is brilliant. He can learn and execute. This is what Warren Buffett taught him. This is my interpretation. Okay? You have to open your heart. Money is important, but the next step for money is what? If you have money, see, you cannot consider yourself rich until you go beyond your attachment to your money. What do you do next? You go into things like culture, things like art. Okay? Why? You're broadening all your sense organs. Aren't you? You're going for beauty. That's the next level. If you say, if I count I judge my success based on the amount of money I have in my bank account, so my asset base, that's nothing. You have to go beyond that. You have to see beauty in money. That's how you liberate yourself in your attachment to money. So they go after beauty. They go after arts. They invest in arts. They invest in, arts is the visual arts. All still sense organ based. And then what do they do next? What's the next level?
Charity.
Spirituality.
Sure.
Charity. They have to see beauty in giving. See, art and culture is still what? Your possessions. You have to let go of possession, you go into charity, you go into spirituality. Spirituality for these guys is basically building churches, building temples. They give it away. You see beauty in giving. All these guys, incredible minds, they see beauty in those things. Gates saw beauty in all those things. Now he's got to the point of beauty in giving. He commits his life to do that. I mean, a major part of his life to do that. Superior mind. But eventually, they still have to turn to Mahayana. Just all those are still based on what?
Conditions.
Confusion. Based on this thinking mind. The thinking mind that finds beauty in giving.
Actually, they're going the wrong way though.
Oh yeah, you can go quite a ways. You go quite a ways.
But they have to make a lot of money and then exhaust those avenues and then find out the dead ends to keep on going. You know, they're actually taking a long trip.
The problem is that they will not be able to free themselves from the particular path. The path is you build attachments on top of attachments on top of attachments. Okay? That's the long and arduous path. Yes.
It's better.
More refined.
Yeah. But still, in the end, it's still.
But just as dangerous. Even more. It's much more refined. See, so we go from attachment to a beautiful sunset, to attachment to a work of art, to attachments to charity, attachments of peace, spirituality, and still based on what? This processing mind here. It's the wrong approach to the problems. Okay? So what does it say, in other words?
Each one's an attachment, so you don't have to figure.
That's enough. They don't have enough good roots to be able. They cannot go to the Harvards and the Stanfords of their training. Come on, it's not for everyone. Well, I like it or not, we can't all go to Harvard to get an education. It's not meant for everyone to go to Harvard. Well, you can't deny Harvard is an important institution for education. They set the standards. Mahayana sets the standards of cultivation. And Venerable YongHua is so kind, so compassionate that he set the standard in practice with the DRBA. His standard is just so high in terms of practice. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes. Could we go back to what you mentioned a few minutes ago about confused lay persons practice? Best bet, two things. One is to go for first level arhatship.
First stage arhat, yes.
By committing more time to the time practice, meditation.
Yeah, no, you have to say, just like everything else in life, okay, when you came to this country, you said, education is important for me. I'm going to get my degree, okay? So I'm going to commit my time, my resources to get a degree first. Same thing. You have to make the commitment to go towards your goal. If your goal, we know we all have, you all will become Buddhas, whether you like it or not. Okay? You planted the seeds for that already. It's a matter of time. Okay? Now the question for you, you have to decide, what is my timeline here? Now that I know about it, now that I'm aware of that, what is my commitment? What do I want? How much can I afford to commit to go after my goal? That you have to decide for yourself. Once you decide to do that, then there are all kinds of dharmas for you to practice to get there. That's all. But the point is not so much that you can't get there. The question is how committed you are to get there as quickly as possible. That's what you have to ask yourself. What is your timeline? Is it a 20-year plan, 30-year, 40? 20 lifetimes, 200 lifetimes? See, there's a guy who I ran to him at Long Beach Monastery. He's from Taiwan, came from a rich family, you can't tell. He never drives a fancy car. Okay? And he hangs around because at that time we were training shamis or novice monks there, small ones. I was one of them. I was a shami, not a small one. And He told me that he at the time Venerable YongHua died already, and he said, I just gave a check of $2 million to the DRBA. I said, what? First I said, what? Why are you throwing money away? That's the kind of level of person I am. Now you can tell why I have nothing, no temple, no nothing. And he said, just because. Why? He said, because I promised my shifu that I would tidy things up, arrange things, my business affairs, and make an offering of money. And it's too bad that I made it. I couldn't do it sooner, because before he died. So I was fulfilling my promise to my teacher. And so you see, this guy is kind of unusual. Okay. I don't know. You have $2 million to just write a check and give it away just for whatever reason. I certainly don't. I don't know that many people who have that kind of money around. So I was curious, and he said, my shifu taught me a lot of things. He taught me Dharma here, that this guy, his sexual desire is pretty high. He's a horny guy, okay? And he makes fun of it. He said he likes women. So Venerable YongHua taught him a Dharma to deal with that. He really has a hard time executing a Dharma. So he taught him another Dharma. He said, do this, and you become enlightened in 7 more lifetimes. He said, yeah, that I can do. It's up to you. He can't let go of his women. What can you do? So Venerable YongHua is so precise, says in 7 more lifetimes you become enlightened. There's hope for you. 7 more lifetimes.
So does that mean that you're going to have the teachers more dharmas, more different methods of reaching the first stage arhat before sitting?
You have to make a commitment. It's you who are not willing to make the commitment to do it. Okay? There are plenty of dharmas for you to practice to get there. There's so many ways to get there. Mahayana has 84,000 dharma doors. This guy here, he wants to become enlightened right away. So I say, okay, are you serious? I teach you how to end your, see, you can let go of your women first. That's not about enlightenment yet. And he can't. So he has to settle. But you have to start a conversation. You say, okay, that's where I want to go. Let's see how reasonable it is. Even my attachments. For some of you, it may not be sex. Maybe some of you, maybe your dogs. Who knows? I'm not naming names. Some of you could be spiritual powers. I don't know. It depends. All right. Last comments. Seems like you still want to talk more about it, right?
Another question was concerning the rebirth practice. Are you talking about the PLN practice for the rebirth, or what you're talking about as an insurance policy?
Yes.
Could you be more specific about that?
Buy insurance. Don't be stupid.
And what do you mean by buy insurance?
I don't know. Invest more, understand more about the Pure Land Dharma door, and do whatever it takes to increase your chance for rebirth. Do whatever it takes. That's what I call buy insurance.
Concrete actions that we could do?
Okay? For example, when you practice the way you practice 1 hour in the morning, okay? That's buying insurance. You actually buy insurance when you do that.
Practice what I mean? You mean
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
chanting,
Chanting, offering incense, all those things. You buy insurance for yourself.
I have a question about burning incense in the house.
Yeah.
I remember reading Master Hsuan said at one time that in Guaisan, Yunji, you respect ghosts and gods, but you should stay away from them. And when you're burning incense, usually it's an invitation for the gods and spirits to come.
No.
And he mentioned that don't burn incense unless you know what you're doing, because you might invite the wrong spirits into your home.
Sure.
So, what's the proper mindset or proper way of burning incense in the house?
You burn incense to do what? Why are you burning incense?
Well, say as an offering to
whom?
To the Buddha.
Then the ghosts and spirits have no business coming. Do they? They don't dare come. They don't dare usurp the offerings.
Okay.
They may be ghosts and spirits, but they're not that stupid. They may not be afraid of you, afraid of me, but they're afraid of Buddhas, let me tell you. They're not even going, they know better than going and steal incense from the Buddhas. So you know you're not in danger there. You're offering to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Oh no. You say, I'm offering it to the Buddhas.
Did I say that?
Of the 10 directions.
And 3 periods of time.
On 3 periods of time. Okay. I'm offering it to the Dharma with the 10 directions in 3 periods of time. I'm offering it to the Sangha of the 10 directions in 3 periods of time. That's why we have 3 sticks. 1 stick for each. That's what you do. Rebirth, let me go back to the insurance thing. Just like buying insurance, okay? It's more than buying insurance. Insurance is a kind of Dharma. Buying insurance kind of Dharma is still not ultimate yet. But basically, you invest your assets, okay? Right? Buying insurance meaning whatever, you make a
you protect
contribution. No, you take your assets and make deposit into the insurance company, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
You buy into that, okay? That's what you do. So in Mahayana, it's the analogy for that is you creating you're adding good roots in that area, that arena. You're planting the causes for rebirth in the Pure Land. Okay? Compare that to, let's say you hear about the Pure Land, a lot of Buddhists hear about the Pure Land and hear about, they know they're supposed to recite the Buddha's name. And guess what? When there's a Buddha recitation session, too tired. They don't recite. To me, that's not buying insurance. Okay? Because you buy insurance meaning every month you make a payment, aren't you? That's what you do. You make a payment, that means you're creating merit and virtues in the Pure Land Dharma door. So you're accruing your asset base. Okay? So next one is time for you to go when you die. You can't afford to board the space shuttle. Okay? This is no ordinary vessel here. There's something called Pure Land vessel that you need to have enough blessings to be able to afford it. Am I making sense? So don't say that, oh, I'm a Pure Land person, and then you don't recite the Buddha's name. When there's a chance for you to practice the Pure Land Dharma door, you are absent. You don't show up. You're not paying the insurance policy, are you? If that's the case. Every month you're supposed to make a deposit, make a payment. Every time you encounter a Pure Land Dharma door, okay, you see it and you don't participate. You're not making a deposit. You're not making a payment to your insurance policy. That's the analogy. But that's not enough yet. Okay? Because when we practice, what happens is that we practice that we get to the point where you enter this Buddha's recitation samadhi that's going to ensure us rebirth. If in this lifetime you practice the Pela Dharma door and you enter the Buddha recitation samadhi, you recite the Buddha's name 10 times, okay, without any intervening thought in between. Okay, that's called samadhi. You can do that. You are guaranteed rebirth. I can tell you, I know a lot of people who have attained that already. They are guaranteed rebirth. That's what the Sutra says. That's what we practice. Okay? And then, so you're accruing all these things and you buy, as a space shuttle, I'm sure in the future when they have space travel, you're going to have economy class, they have business class and first class, and maybe a penthouse, who knows. Okay? That's what you keep on making the deposits, because it differentiates between the classes that you belong, that you can afford in the future. You go to the Pure Land, you're going to be reborn maybe in a bigger palace, or and so on, versus smaller palace. It's personal preference. I like bigger palaces. I don't know about you. Okay? I want the biggest I can afford. And then what happens is that this is the one thing that I hope someday the RBA will wake up to. My shifu used to do that. Because buying insurance is not enough. You have to cash it in.
What do you mean by cash it in? Die, you cash it in.
You have to make a vow. The last part of the practice, faith, practice, and vow. You have to tell them you want to go there.
Yeah,
If
I
you
want
practice,
now.
They won't come.
I want it now.
They cannot pull you. People forget that last part, very important.
Because
Wow.
if you have the blessings already, just like you have money in the bank, and you say, I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to buy this car yet. I want to wait for a bigger one. Guess what happens? You ain't got no car. You see? You have to cash it in. How do you do that? See, good question. Anyone care to know how you do that?
Yes.
Yes.
all of us.
We've been wanting to hear this one.
That's why when people die, we have 7-week thing. That's a cashing thing. See, most
But
people
the
don't.
person's already dead. I mean, you cash it in as you cash it when you're alive, right?
I use a cash because I use an analogy. It's really what it means that you have the blessings. You have to make it happen. You have to use that towards rebirth. You don't use it, tough luck. Okay? What I mean is that Bill Shinhua taught the Dharma already, but I don't think the Yabi is doing it right now. Not the way I like it, the way I believe it should be done. Okay? Number one. And it goes back to the plaques. The plaque you can only buy after you die.
Right, yeah.
To me, it doesn't make sense.
Too late. Somebody else had to do it for you.
Can I do it before I die? Because that's when I really need it most. Right now, I can afford to make the payments. Okay? Let me get the plaque now. Let me accrue my savings now, so that when I die, I have a lot of savings at my disposal. Okay? First, that's something that to me is lacking. Number two, what they're also not doing is that they're no longer executing the 7-week Dharma that Guru Shenhua taught. Right now, you see, all they do is they give you, when you die, you pay whatever money to get a plaque. That's it. That's it. One-time deal. Okay? And what happened is that, first of all, you are missing on the chance to make accruals when you still can. Okay? And the plaque's only one form. Okay? I'm not talking about where they fall short of the Dharma in my interpretation. Because to me, the deposit is every time you go to a Dharma assembly, appear in a Dharma assembly, you're making a deposit. You're making a contribution. Okay? You're increasing your worth. Okay? I'm saying that even the plaque, get the plaque too, because that is part of your accrual. Okay? And then when you die, you have a time period where it's most critical for you. So critical then for you to get help. During the phase when you die, there's a 7-week period, okay, where everything gets settled. Your debts, your aspirations, everything that happens there will determine where you're going to go next, where you reincarnate. So what we have in Mahayana is a Dharma called 7-week Dharma, where you every 7 days we execute the Dharma, and the YBA no longer does it. I don't see it in their list. They don't. See, that's where to me, the Dharma is not being executed to the fullest to help others.
Now, the Dharma can only be executed for Buddhists only?
No,
or can
for everyone.
Be done for everyone?
For everyone. You don't have to be a Buddhist to be reborn. You don't. You can be the worst person, but if at that point in time, someone at that time, let's say you are the worst person, you are, let's say, a serial murderer, serial killer, and you got caught. And then they put you to death, put you on the electric chair, and before you die, you happen to run to someone who says, "Hey, go for rebirth. Why not? What have you got to lose? Because it's kind of nicer there." Okay, and the guy says, the serial killer woman, how about that? Says, "I believe. Oh my Lord, I believe. Hallelujah. Let me go for rebirth." However that's transpired, makes no difference. That person brings forth a resolve for rebirth and say, "Okay, I want to go there. I want to be born there. Please help me." Okay? This person here has no prior accruals, but at that point in time, if we help them out, she might get lucky and be reborn. That's why the 7-week period Dharma is so important. And they're not doing it anymore. I mean, as far as I know, they don't do it. That's wrong. So it works in 3 scenarios. If you have enough blessings already, you decided, let's say you attain the Buddha recitation samadhi already in this lifetime, you guarantee for rebirth already. You have to, in general, you have the enough blessings for rebirth already. Okay. That's one kind of scenario. There's another scenario where you don't have enough. Okay. That's when that 7-week Dharma is very, very critical. And number 3 is that you're not sure. That's why you buy insurance. How can you be sure? Okay? That's why in the Asian culture, that's why the Dharma seal temple that I talked about, I made poke fun at. That's that kind of Dharma they're selling, the black and the 7-week thing. Okay, so even though they may not execute it to the best way they can be executed, because it has mixed up with all kinds of filth. Okay, motivation of making money and so on are wrong. Okay, but even though so they execute it, that is still very helpful towards helping them obtain rebirth. That's why you cannot knock it down entirely. It has its use, it has its own purpose. You cannot tell me that all these Orientals are stupid for all these thousands of years. They know something we don't. It really works. in some cases. Even if you go through Dharma Seal Temple. Okay? And it's unfortunate to me that I hope that someday I can make the case to the RBA, and they have to bring back that 7-week Dharma because it should be very helpful.
They stop it, is it because they don't have the resources for it?
I don't know. You have to ask them. I can't answer for them. It's just that maybe things get lost in their understanding. Because I had to go from master to master. See, no one ever taught me that Dharma. I had to jump from temple to temple. And one does a little bit of this. You know why? Because Venerable Shinwa told them, he said, you do this.
So when Master Shinwa was alive, that was practiced?
In some temples.
Or in some RBA temples?
Yeah. When he's alive, he's going to help you if you ask him. So when Shinwa was alive, he would help you before you ask, even. Okay. So all those things are extraneous, extracurricular. But after he died is when all these things that he taught his disciples, because he taught them because it happened to be that person helped some of them in that area, local area. So I had to go to different temples before I find out that's what different dharmas being executed. And they proudly tell me, I know more about this dharma than that temple there because they don't do it right. See, I have to listen to all that kind of garbage all the time. But then I understand over time that why things are being executed differently. And that dharma I learned, by the way, in Calgary. That's why I'm grateful to Venpo Hengzuo, because he taught me the dharma. He taught me a lot of things. Even though his kung fu is very low, what he did is that he repeated like a monkey. He said, Shifu told me to do it this way. That's it. He will not change, regardless. And I appreciate that. Because what happens, you go to different temples, is that he hears one thing from Venerable Shenhua and then interpret it differently. I much prefer people to tell me exactly what they heard from Shifu's mouth. Okay, so he taught me. So it's the funny thing because Calgary has a lot of people from Hong Kong. Very narcissistic group, you ask me. So they have this that's what I call on the list I have. It's a chow du, whatever. Okay, the chow du thing. It says like 7 times, whatever, 3 to 7. Okay, the 7th time is when that is designed to help rebirth. That's not being done right now on the DRBA. They don't do it. Okay, and that's lacking in the approach, and Pure Land approach. If you're going to help them for rebirth, might as well go all out. Give them all the tools available. Okay. What the funny thing is, the same childhood thing, they use it for dealing with the health, lengthening life purpose. And what happened is that some of these Hong Kong ladies, older, okay, like in their 60s, they someday. This is how I learned about the Dharma. It's so funny. A lady one Sunday came to me and said, "Can I buy a long life plaque today for 1 day only?" And I said, "That's very expensive. It's a few $100." I said, "Yeah, for today." "Why? What's the occasion?" She said, "Today is my birthday." So that's how I learned about it. I said, these Hong Kong people are so smart. And I said, instead of wasting money on going out to a restaurant and stuff like that, okay, my budget is limited. Let me invest in my own health. So smart. And they don't do it around here anymore. That's a chance you should all have. It's what the Dharma is there for. Let me tell you, for that kind of investment, she saves herself a lot of medical bills. Okay? And unfortunately, it's a funny thing that I tell you that because that's where I learned. Way out there in Canada, where I'm here from this country, we have so many branch temples here. And they don't do it here anymore. Why am I teaching you this? Because I want you to teach the next time you have a chance. In the future, when I go full out and have temples, okay, all these dharmas will be available so that people can take advantage of it. In particular, the 7-week dharma is something I highly recommend, because that's when the dharma is most needed. It can make a difference between going there and going in the wrong direction. I call my father being reborn in the heavens going in the wrong direction, if you ask me. My master being reborn there is going in the wrong direction. They should have come to me and said, please help me get reborn. They're not stupid. My master is not stupid, let me tell you. Because a few years ago, when I went to the hospital, I was meditating, and one day, I'm going over time. Do you mind? A few more minutes, I'll be done. I promise. I was meditating, and then I heard my master's voice, my Vietnamese master's voice. He says, "Come." So I immediately call the temple, because I don't have any, because he banished me. Remember? I don't know. I told you that he banished me. So I don't dare go near him unless I'm taught. So I called the temple and found out he's hospitalized. So I went to the hospital to pay him a visit because he told me to come and visit him. So I came to the hospital. And I haven't seen him for like a year and a half, 2 years. Okay. He looked at me. Okay. He's in a private room. He has a TV on. He has 2 attendants with him. See, he's a big shot. He's always attendants day and night. Okay. He looked at me. I sat down in the chair. See, the bed is about where the projector is, and my chair is about here. I sat down, I bowed to him, and I said, "No, don't bow to me," because I bowed. So my master said, "No, don't bow to me." I said, "Okay," I did a half bow. Then he said, "Sit down." So I sat in my chair, the armchair, facing him like that. He talked to me. Within minutes, he says, "See, we haven't seen each other for a while." He knew I've been practicing. He says, "Whatever you wish me, whatever you want me to certify for you, I do it for you." I said, "Huh? What are you talking about?" I didn't know what he meant. Whatever you want, I'll certify you. That's his reward. He's rewarding me for coming and paying him a visit. And he looked at me, and the first thing he said, we shoot the breeze a little bit, and then he said, "Whatever you want me to certify for you, I will do it for you." Meaning that if I claim I'm an arhat, he would certify me to be an arhat. I'd be rolling in dough, let me tell you. And disciples, and cars, and women, and food, and money.
That'd be your CFO. He'll be your accountant.
Yeah, I probably need an accountant. And so I didn't understand what he meant. So I had to ask his attendant, who's been his attendant for years, like 10 or 30 years. He says, "Well, what the great master is saying is that whatever you want him to certify to, he will gladly do it for you in public."
In what?
In public.
In public.
He put his stamp of approval that he has reached his level already. Okay? Mm-hmm. So why I'm telling you that? Because I tell you that this guy has been a monk for 60 years, 70 years. Okay? He left the home life when he was like 9 or 10. Okay? So he's seen all kinds of monks and nuns, various levels. and looked at me and he decided he wants to certify me because it's for him too. You see, he saw the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is one of his good friends. Every time Dalai Lama goes to Los Angeles, he goes and pays a visit to my master. Because you want to go to the Vietnamese gates, Vietnam Buddhist community, my master is one of the important gates. Okay? Dalai Lama being very political and very smart, astute, he would go to visit my master. So they're very, very good terms. So he saw all kinds of people for all these years. He looked at me and decided, I want to certify this guy. So I don't know what he saw. I still don't know. Okay? Don't ask me what he saw because I can't give you an answer.
I didn't understand.
But the point is that my master, whatever he saw, is a Pure Land person. For him to really believe in Pure Land, he would have asked me for help. That's why deep down he wants to go to the heavens, not Pure Land. Because had he asked me for help, I would have executed a 7-week Dharma for him to help him. Because that's when he really needs it most. Because you can spend your lifetime reciting the Buddha's name. When you die, that's when all kinds of confusion reigns, chaos reigns. That's when you need the execution of the proper Dharma to help you sift through the confusion. Because remember, my master, my father, a lot of people have accrued a lot of blessings already. Okay? They may have not reached the Buddha recitation samadhi, but you can't tell me they don't have enough blessings. Agree? I mean, you have to do it full time. They're supposed to be Pure Land people all their life. And when you die, that's when all these temptations come, like the jade women to the Buddha. That's when you need help. And that's why it's too bad that they're not teaching it that anymore at the DRBA, because it would have been a lot more helpful for people to rebirth. And I don't care how rich Bill Gates is. If he doesn't buy insurance now, chances are that when he dies, he ain't going to be reborn. And to me, it's not how much money you make, it's how the best bet for you is to be reborn there. A sure thing. Sure success guaranteed. Okay? Alright, let's wrap it up.